Hello and welcome. In this video, we're going to be taking a look at Anchorhead Coffee's Guatemala Huehuetenango, which is one of the coffees that's included in this September/October Coffee Lovers box. I call this coffee Green Apple Crisp. All these coffees in various ways are a little bit of a challenge to name their sort of compound experience. As I've explained before, the way I like to describe coffee is to find something of complexity that really aligns with how the coffee tastes, to really try to communicate to you what the experience is like, not just in the disparate flavors, but in the overall taste and even emotional experience. So one thing that there are two things I kind of wanted to call this coffee, but one I can't because it's a branded name, and the other you may not have had the experience. So one thing I really like about this coffee, the aroma of the coffee itself. So it's a light roasted coffee and it's really delicate. And the aroma, you can really pick up on like apples and cinnamon and this kind of sugary, sort of delicate sugary sweetness. And I really wanted to call it Apple Jacks because it smells like Apple Jacks cereal, but I can't call it Apple Jacks for obvious reasons. But that kind of gives you an idea of what it smells like. In terms of the aroma and the taste, as we're going to discover, I found that Green Apple Crisp is really, really spot on there. The other thing I kind of wanted to call it was fresh guava. There's a lot of aspects in the way that it tastes and that it smells that remind me of eating fresh guava. But the only place that I've really had fresh guava a lot is Southeast Asia. I'm sure it's something that you could find in most places in the US, but I think there's a high likelihood that many of you out there either haven't had fresh guava or don't have that particular taste experience in mind. All right, so let me quickly just go over. So again, I call this Green Apple Crisp. My description of it: apples, cinnamon, and pastry sweetness come out alongside delicate melon and guava. There is also on the aroma this kind of slight, it's almost like a melon sweetness. It's a melon delicateness. It's almost like the smell of a melon on the coffee, which is intriguing and difficult to communicate. Anchorhead's description of it: grown between 1,000 and 2,200 meters, this coffee undergoes a wash process and offers notes of hibiscus, green grape, and chocolate. I could, of course, absolutely see those flavors in there as well. The indication of it undergoing a wash process helps to understand why the flavors are so delicate. Without going too in depth on the processes of coffee, as far as taste goes, I find that wash process coffees tend to be more subtle in the distinctness of the flavors, but there are more of them. So you can go through and you can find apples and cinnamon and pastry sweetness and melon and guava and hibiscus and green grape and chocolate. And you can go through and you can kind of see all these sorts of things because there are elements of each of those actually in the coffee, which is pretty cool. Going back to the way I describe these are not flavored coffees. This is just coffee. All of these, it's just coffee that's in here. So that's what makes it really awesome. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and brew this up. I tend to brew up on a Kalita wave just because that's how I like to have my coffee. But you can brew this coffee up on pretty much any method. You're probably gonna get a slightly different experience if you go with an immersion type method or any kind of pressurized brew. You're gonna get something a bit richer and deeper. If you go with a paper filtered method, you're gonna see more of the brighter, crisper, delicate flavors. That's the kind of balance you can expect with all of these when you brew in the different kinds of methods. So I'm gonna go ahead and brew this up on the Kalita and then we'll be right back. All right, we're back. And I've also let the coffee cool a little bit, but I brewed it up on here. It's one of the things about lighter roasted coffees, I think, that trips a lot of people up, is if you just brew the coffee and then drink it right away, and it is a lighter roasted coffee, it's often going to be a little more challenging to really taste everything in the coffee, and that's because the heat's blocking a lot of the flavors. So with lighter roasted coffees, it pays to let them cool a bit, and you'll find that with those coffees, like with this one, and really with all three of these, all three of these are not super light roasted coffees, but their flavors come out really rich as the cup cools. And I don't mean turning cold. I mean, you can probably see that this coffee is still quite warm, but it's sat a little bit, it's cooled down some, and now I'm getting a really rich, flavorful cup just because it cooled a little bit. And so that's really important. So when you're enjoying this at home, be careful about having the coffee right off the brew, because it may be like, I know with this one right off the brew, it can be really hard to see much of the flavors. You'll probably get a little bit of like melon delicateness. But now as it cools, what's coming out, I can taste the apple, you know, the cinnamon kind of floats in there. There's a sugar sweetness. If I think about it, I can see chocolate. I can see, what I see is like green apple. You could probably see as green grape as well. I'm just thinking about the way that Anchorhead describes the coffee. It's really quite delicious. The sweet sort of what they call chocolate, what comes off to me is kind of the sugary crispness of the apple crisp that combine really well with the milk. If you wanted to add milk to your coffee, milk and sugar, and bring out that part of the coffee. It's really good by itself too. Like no bitterness at all. It's got a nice rich sweetness. I guess baked apple is kind of how it comes off. And there is that fun sort of cinnamony spice floating around in the cup as well. Anyhow, that is Anchorhead Coffee's Guatemala Huehuetenango, or as I call it, green apple crisp. Really delicious. It's one of the coffees in this September/October Coffee Lovers box. You'll get 4 ounces of this coffee along with the 2 others, and you can have it whole bean. You can grind it yourself. If you do need the coffee ground, we can grind it for you. You'll see those options on the order page. Orders for this Coffee Lovers box end September 29th, 11:59 p.m. and that's Pacific time. You'll see a timer on the page. As soon as that hits 0, time's up. You won't be able to order the box anymore. A single box is $22, and you could subscribe monthly and save a little bit at $20 a month. Shipping is free to U.S. addresses. If you have any questions about this coffee or the other coffees in the Coffee Lovers box, feel free to email me, joseph@coffeeloversmag.com, or you can hit the little chat button in the lower right corner of your screen. You can leave me a message, or if I'm online, send me a message and we'll chat about coffee. Thank you for watching.